it's next season or the season after that. And I hope it happens sooner than later. Like, why wait? Why wait? Just do it, experiment. And like with the play-in, there's going to be a mixed reaction, but I'm willing to bet as soon as this thing happens, people are going to fall in love with it.
Speaking of Adam Silver, here was a topic that I did want to touch on with you because we were not able to speak on this.
Tournament. Yeah, let's talk about it.
I love this.
Thank you. Oh, I'm glad we agree on this.
Yeah. You got this in-season tournament, and the first thing that came to mind when I was reading Woj's article about it. So let me just clear this up. Adam Silver's plan for mid-season tournament is gaining traction, and the proposed format would be December pool play, a pre-Christmas finals, and this is one of the things that I've wondered about, which is how do you get players to really care about winning this? I think giving them $1 million each is exactly a great way for you to get everybody to care. If you told guys that they were going to get $1 million, but forget the professional pride, personal pride, every time you want to play, you want to win, like all that stuff. Like, you got all that, and then you say, oh, yeah, and everybody on the team is going to get $1 million if you win the thing. I promise you are going to get a very heightened level of play. And these poor referees, that was one of the things that came to my mind. I mean, this is millions of dollars on the line for these guys. But man, I couldn't be more excited about this idea. I think it's great. And I think I think they have figured out a way to make players care, even if they wouldn't normally. No matter what team you are, if you know you got $1 million on the line, each personally, holy moly, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, so I feel like there's a lot of anytime Woj tweets about it, there's a mixed reaction. Anytime Shams tweets about it, there's a mixed reaction. Like, why screw up the regular season? Why change the way it is? And people can feel however they want about it. I understand change could be scary, but I'll tell you what, man. Like, personally, I get fired up about the idea of early regular season factoring into tournament seeding, and then you get this mid-season tournament. I think about it in the long term here in two different ways. A, let's say this year, let's just say, I don't know, let's throw out the Suns. Let's say the Suns won the mid-season tournament. And let's say they got best regular season record. And let's say they won the NBA Finals. That could be a rarity in NBA history for an NBA team to essentially have like a triple crown. You won the in-season tournament, you got best record, and you won the NBA Finals. Like, that could be a historical thing that develops over the course of time. That becomes the new tradition. A team that was dominant throughout the entire NBA calendar year. You're going to have instances where teams maybe suffer a traumatic injury in the playoffs that derails their odds of winning the NBA Finals, but they had an unbelievable year winning the in-season tournament. Financially as well, this is going to be something from people I've talked to around the league the last couple of years. The tournament will be something that is packaged and sold to maybe Amazon. All games could air on Amazon streaming services. Something like this could be a big financial boon for the NBA, which could raise player salaries over the course of time, bringing even more than just $1 million reward for the winners of the tournament, but more financial rewards for everybody across the league that is felt for many, many years to come. And think about the financial losses the past couple of years through the pandemic. This could help regain some of that and make even more of it. And just from a fan perspective, I just get excited about games mattering early in the season.
Well,
and
here's
like
the thing, Kev.
That's what the play-in did. Games matter more late. Games can matter more early with the in-season tournament, and they still matter for later because they all count towards the regular season standings as well.
Because the NBA has something, a different issue than the NFL. So the NFL, because of fantasy football and because of gambling, they get interest in games that people would not normally have interest in. And I'll give you an example. The other night, my son and I, whenever it was there was an Eagles game that was on. He has a fantasy football team with all of his friends at school. Okay. He was playing against a guy that had Dallas Goedert on the team. All right. The guy had Dallas Goedert on the team. And so he needed Dallas Goedert to not get X amount of points. We had that game on until the very end, because at the end of the game, I think it was a game against the football team. So it was 2 weeks ago. But the way that game played out was Dallas Goedert got the ball at the very end of the game, and he went and he kneeled. He kneeled down before the 2-minute warning. Probably could have taken it to the house. Now, I wouldn't care. I hate the Eagles. I wouldn't care at all. Certainly my son wouldn't care at all. But they got us watching until the end of that game just to see if he was going to lose his fantasy football matchup. And it speaks to how sometimes with that sport, there are reasons to care about games that don't involve your favorite team. All right. Take, for instance, last night. If I didn't host this podcast with you, there is no chance I would keep up with anything that wasn't just the Grizzlies and the Suns. And I certainly don't expect, for last night, who gives a crap who wins these games last night? I mean, honestly, who cares about the Jazz and the Spurs regular season game?
With all the guys out, you mean? With all the players out and everything.
Even if they were all playing, Kevin, it's game 33. Who gives a crap? It's one game. It's by the wayside. Unless something historical takes place, there's no leverage in that. I've got no skin in the game. I don't particularly care who wins the game. But if you gave that game stakes, now all of a sudden last night, there's no chance I'm missing Jazz Spurs. If I know that it might mean the Jazz could get knocked out of a tournament, or if the Timberwolves win over the Celtics meant something besides it being embarrassing to the Celtics. Like, imagine if that knocked them out of something. Like, yeah, because guess what? They're going to play another game tonight, and, there'll be a whole new set of storylines about the team and about who got the opportunity to play and whatever else. And so I'm just all for giving things real meaning. It happened the last month of last season, which would be the dog days. It happened because of that play-in. You and I came on here 1,000 times and said that game last night was so much more meaningful because, and now we cared about the standings and who's in 10 and who's in 8. And oh my God, this team might have to win twice. And oh geez, are Curry and the Warriors going to make the playoffs? Oh man, could the Lakers have to, just scratch their way in? Like, all those games the last month of the season mattered. And so I'm all for, even if it's this way, finding a way to make games matter that wouldn't normally.
100%, Chris. I mean, the play-in is kind of, the opposite here. Like, late games mattered more because more teams were in it, because the 6-7 spot, when you're 6, you're locked into the postseason. When you're 7, you got to win a game with the play-in. It made it matter. Those teams that were on the bubble, 10, 11, 12, 13, like this year could be different than last year. This year could actually be more exciting. When you think about last season, there was kind of a differential. Besides New Orleans and Sacramento, nobody else was even close to the play-in in the Western Conference. This year in the Western Conference, there's like 5 games of separation between the 5 seed and the 14 seed. And that'll stretch out over the course of the year, but maybe not. Maybe this will be a year where, remember last year we talked about the incentive in the play-in is if a team has an early season injury, then that guy comes back mid-year, you still get a chance. You're still in it. Your season's not over. Zion Williamson, if he's able to come back and stay healthy, if Ingram can get back from the sore Achilles, they're not out of it. If OKC were to say, you know what, screw it, we're going to trade for Sabonis and get better, maybe they push in for the play-in. I don't know if that's for the best long term, but every team can feel like that they're in it. And with the in-season tournament at the beginning of the season, it just creates incentive for those early games to matter and have stakes to be relevant for fans that are investing their time and money into these games. And like, just for anybody, as you said, as a casual fan, if you are a fan of the San Antonio Spurs and it's during pool play and you're thinking about your potential opponent, you might tune in for that Hornets Grizzlies game that you otherwise wouldn't have. And that game is it's gonna count towards the regular season standings. So it does matter for the traditional regular season standings, for the traditional playoff standings, but it also matters for getting into the in-season tournament, which is where the money is for the players, which is where the single elimination is. Single elimination is fun, Chris.
Oh,
who doesn't love single elimination?
You have to come up with ideas as to how to create interest in. It's an 82 game season, and people could say, well, these guys are paid millions of dollars and they should play hard every single night. The level of play you will get in this thing will just be different. Like,
it's gonna be. Yep.
You think the Celtics lose to all right, maybe they would have. Maybe they would have. But I promise you this. You think you get the same effort out of that Boston team last night if I tell them there's $1 million on the game? Yeah. You think they lose? You think Jordan Noel goes for 29? Maybe he does. You think Greg Monroe, who signed 3 hours before, comes on as busting their ass? I would like to guess that and you could say, well, they shouldn't have to incentivize the guys to give it their all every night. It's 82 games. It's just impossible to have the level of focus, energy, and everything else. And that's another thing, right? The NFL, they only have 16 games, so every single game is a high leverage situation and could make the difference in your season. That's just not so. It's just one of 82 games the other way. But now you've found another way to make at least a patch of that schedule really matter. And people care about it and get a heightened level of play in the middle of the season. I wish they'd do it. I mean,
I hope they do.
I hope it happens by next season. I hope that all is able to happen.
It could. Woj did say it could become part of the calendar for 2022, 23, or 23, 24. Yeah. So it's next season or the season after that. And I hope it happens sooner than later. Like, why wait? Why wait? Just do it, experiment. And like with the plan, there's going to be a mixed reaction, but I'm willing to bet as soon as this thing happens, people are going to fall in love with it. And here's my one question about it, Chris. Will there be any more incentive besides the money? Will the NBA have these games count? It would be an 8-team single elimination tournament. So let's say you win the whole thing. Do those 3 wins you get count also towards the regular season standings, as in like their bonus games? So they are money for the players, but also it would be 3 extra wins into the standings that could give you an edge for playoff seeding. So like that would be the reward. People say, why would teams have players play? Why would players not rest in this? They don't care about the millions of dollars. John Wall's making $45 million. This guy's making $40 million. It would matter if you get 3 extra dubs in the standings that help you out. Like, to me, that is something the NBA should consider with the in-season tournament games counting.
Do the losses count?
No.
Only
I don't
the
think
wins.
those would. I think only the wins would.
Only the wins would count.
Something like that. I'm just speaking aloud here. Just spitballing.
Yeah. Could give them a draft pick. But you could give them a draft pick. But the problem is
the 31st pick, like a compensation pick, something like that.
No, give them the 10th pick.
Yeah, why not?
Well, the problem is because then
maybe after the lottery.
Well, you got 15? A whole bunch of guys on your team. You're like, hold on now, I'm trying to win so somebody could take my job.
Yeah. Well, how about 15 right outside the lottery?
Oh, right.
15.
Right outside 15. The lottery.
That's not bad, really. I think 31 if you're just trying to, fair.
If you're just trying to incentivize it, it's too early to make it count for a playoff spot or something. I don't know. You could. You could guarantee yourself as a playoff spot if you weren't a playoff team.
I don't like the guarantee.
Yeah,
that's too much. That's why I think like if you win each of your games, that should count towards the standings.
I tell you this, those guys would rather have $1 million anyway. I don't know if you have to
Yeah.
incentivize.
I mean, you might not need anything else.
No, I don't
You're
think
right.
you do. I don't think you do.
I guess the question would be like, while that 8-team single elimination tournament is happening, what are all the other 22 teams doing? Are they getting a little break? Are they playing traditional regular season games? Are they? I don't know. I'm just wondering what happens during that stretch.
I'm sure it all has to be flushed out.